All right, turn your Bibles to Isaiah 44. We're going to be in the last part of the chapter, or the first part of the chapter there. Imagine living in a heathen country during the Bible times. The area has been buzzing the past 6 months because the village next to you has been building something huge. No one knows what it is. Then one day someone comes from that village and they said, I have some news. And everybody in the village gathers, and then he announces to them. He says that they finished their building project. It's a huge idol. The idol will ruin everyone's crops and their houses unless they take money and food to this idol. What do you do? What do you feel? We'd probably laugh about it, right? And we'd walk away and go, yeah, okay, no problem. We're not scared of your idol. We don't fear those kind of things. We don't fear idols, right? We don't do that, but we do fear. And we do fear other idols, unseen idols. One of the big ones that many people fear is the idol that I will call the idol of godlessness. I'm going to give that name because there's other names and I don't want to offend anybody if I use the wrong name here. But godlessness. Godlessness has been in our schools, right? Godlessness has been on our televisions. It's been in our politics, and sometimes even in our churches. It hasn't bothered us, has it, that God's been left out? That doesn't bother us. Or that mentioning God is taboo, and we just sort of keep quiet, right? But godlessness lies, it cheats, and it steals. It spews its propaganda every night when we turn on the TV. Today, it even threatens the American way of life. Some people follow it, others fear and hate it. But it's nothing more than an idol, the enemy's idol. Is there something else that you fear today? Think about it. What is it? Could it also be nothing more than an idol, the enemy's idols? Isaiah 44, 6 through 28 gives 4 reasons why we should not be afraid of these idols. Don't be afraid of that mean idol, okay? That's the title of our sermon today. Number one reason why we shouldn't be is because there is none like God. Look at verse 6. This is what the Lord says, Israel's King and Redeemer, the Lord Almighty. I am the first and I am the last. Apart from me, there is no God. Who then is like me? Let him proclaim it. Let him declare and lay out before me what has happened since I established my ancient people and what is yet to come. Yes, let him foretell what will come. Do not tremble. Do not be afraid. Did I not proclaim this and foretell it long ago? And he's talking about some prophecy, something that was happening there. You are my witnesses. Is there any God besides me? No, there is no other rock. I know not one. This is God speaking, okay? This is nothing new, right? We've heard this last week in the previous chapter. God says the same things. God has said this over and over again. God is the first. God is the last. There is no other God. There is no one that comes even close to what God is like. He is unique. Apart from God, there is no God. Yet, don't we make these things that we fear bigger than God? Don't we? Don't we think that God will never do anything? Yeah. Don't we think that God could never compete with these things that we fear? Don't these idols and fears mock God? Don't they put God down? Don't they cause us to lose faith in God? Huh? We think God is dead. We think that God is too weak. These idols had given us these thoughts. But I'm here today to tell you that God is not dead. And I'm here to tell you that God is not weak. I'm here to tell you that God doesn't have a problem with these things. Okay? God knows what he's doing. God is God. See God for who he is. See your fear for what it is. And don't be afraid. So we're not afraid because we realize that God, and there is none other like God. Another reason why we should not be afraid is because, number 2, idol makers are nothing. Idol makers are nothing. Look at verse 9. All who make idols are nothing, and the things they treasure are worthless. Those who would speak up for them are blind. They are ignorant to their own shame. Who shapes a god and casts an idol which can profit nothing? People who do that will be put to shame. Such craftsmen are only humans. Let them all come together and take their stand. They will be brought down to terror and shame. Idol makers. Okay? Idol makers. Someone made that enemy's idol. It takes a special kind of person to make an idol. Right? A person who is nothing. Yeah, that's what God said. What they treasure is worthless. Those who speak up for them are blind. They are ignorant. Who made the idol that you are tremble at? Huh? Who made that idol? They are nothing. That is what God says. What kind of person makes something that he knows is good for nothing? Huh? And then he even tries to pass it off as a god. What kind of person does that? The word liar comes to my mind, okay? And there may be other words. A thief, a greedy person. What kind of person? A deceiver? What kind of person makes these idols and then passes it off as some god? Don't be fooled by these idol makers. People may listen to them. They may make all kinds of money. They may, be popular people. But mark God's words here. They will be put to shame. They are only human beings. What does God say? Let them all come together and take their stand. They will be brought down to terror and shame. Don't be afraid. Idol makers are nothing. That's number 2. Number 3, idols require the real God. Now here's a made-up story. I think maybe some of you have heard this before. I heard it from a pastor, and it's on the internet, so let me read it to you, but it makes a good point. One day a group of scientists got together and decided that man had come a long way and no longer needed God. So they picked one scientist to go and tell him that they were done with him. The scientist walked up to God and said, God, we decided that we no longer need you. We're to the point that we can clone people and do many miraculous things. So why don't you just go on and get lost? God listened very patiently and kindly to the man, and after the scientist was done talking, God said, very well. How about this? Let's say we have a man-making contest. To this, the scientist replied, okay, great. But God added, Now we're going to do this just like I did back in the olden days with Adam. The scientist said, sure, no problem. And he bent down and grabbed himself a handful of dirt. God looked at him and said, no, 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 no. That's my dirt. Get your own dirt. You see the point? They rely on a lot of things that God made. Look at verse 12. The blacksmith takes a tool and works with it in the coals. He shapes an idol with hammers. He forges it with the might of his arm. He gets hungry and loses his strength. He drinks no water and grows faint. Where does the blacksmith come from? Huh? He comes from God. Where does the ability to form metal with coals and hammers come from? Where does his ability come from? It comes from God. Where does the strength in his arm come from? Huh? Where does his arm that swings the hammer come from? It comes from God. Who set it up so that food and water would replenish him and give him strength? God did. Let's go on. Verse 13. The carpenter measures with a line and makes an outline with a marker. He roughs it out with chisels and marks it with compasses. He shapes it in human form in all its glory, that it may dwell in a shrine. Who made the human form that he's making? Huh? Once again, God. Verse 14. He cuts down cedar, or perhaps took a cypress or oak. He let it grow among the trees of the forest, or planted a pine, and the rain made it grow. So where do the cedars come from, huh? Where does the cypress and the oak and the pine come from? It comes from God. Where does the rain that makes it grow come from? It comes from God. All these things come from God. Without God, they do not exist. And without them, you can't have an idol. You got that? You can't have an idol. God is an essential element to everything. Evolution is not possible without God. Atheism is not possible without God. Godlessness is not possible without God. God is essential for everything, even for our enemies. Doesn't that show how much greater God is than these idols? Doesn't that sort of give you a little hint that maybe God is a way, way, way higher than all these things? Idols require the real God, so we shouldn't be afraid of them. And last of all, point number 4, we shouldn't be afraid because there is nothing special about idols. Verse 15, it is used as fuel for burning. Some of it he takes and warms himself. He kindles a fire and bakes bread. But he also fashions a god and worships it. He takes an idol and bows down to it. Now he's going to restate that here in the next verse, verse 16. Half of the wood he burns in the fire. Over it he prepares his meal. He roasts his meat and eats his fill. He also warms himself and says, "Ah, I am warm. I see the fire." From the rest he makes a god, his idol. He bows down to it and worships. He prays to it and says, "Save me, you are my God." Idols. What? Look at the idol itself in verse 18. The idols, they know nothing. They understand nothing. Their eyes are plastered over so they cannot see. You know that white paint they put for the eye? How do you see through white paint? You know? They plaster over their eyes so they cannot see, and their minds are closed so they cannot understand. No one stops to think. No one has the knowledge or understanding to say, half of it I use for fuel, I even baked bread over its coals. I roasted meat and I ate. Shall I make a detestable thing from what is left? Shall I bow down to a block of wood? Such a person feeds on ashes. A deluded heart misleads himself. He cannot save himself or say, is not this thing in my right hand a lie? Yeah, that's the people who make the idols. So think about this. Someone makes an idol out of wood, right? He cuts down the tree. He uses a small part of it for the idol, but the rest, what does he do with the rest of the tree? He heats his home. He cooks over it. He may put it in, make a bonfire out of it. Is that part of the tree sacred? The part he used to heat his home with? Is that sacred? The part that ends up in the trash as ashes? Is that sacred? No. So what makes you think that the part that he's going to make the idol out of is going to be sacred? It's not. It's not. There's nothing special about an idol. There's nothing sacred about an idol. Here's another example. A rabbit's foot. Okay? I used to raise rabbits, and I used to, children, hold your ears shut, I used to eat them. Yeah, I used to kill them. And what do? You kill a rabbit? Don't listen to me. These things don't happen. Yeah. You kill a rabbit. You eat his meat, the meat. You make gloves out of his fur. You dump out the guts and other parts. And then you have these feet left over, right? Well, what will I do with them? Cut them off? Put them on a keychain? Here's a good luck charm. Now I have good luck. Yeah. Was the meat good luck? No. Was the guts good luck? No. Was the gloves good luck? No. But somehow this little rabbit's foot is good luck. No, it's not. There is nothing special about idols. The idols of our enemy are the same, okay? They are built on stupid ideas. You ever notice that? Yeah. They're built on lies. They're built on perverseness. Yeah, they're built on bad things. Why do we think that they're going to somehow conquer? Huh? These are stupid things. There is nothing sacred about them. Why do we fear them? So what about it? Huh? What about it? So what if they built a 1,000-foot troll in Derby? Yeah? A 1,000-foot troll, and they told everyone that this troll is their god. What if they told you that the city council members have each carried a troll in their pocket for the last 30 years? And that's why the city of Derby has spread, right? Yeah, we have some people who live in Derby. You know about this, right? No. They go to school. She goes to school. You don't live in Derby, but they're not responding. They want nothing to do with this troll, a 1,000-foot troll. And what if they told you that, and what if they told Wichita that Wichita needs to give them all their land and all their government, or else their troll is going to ruin Wichita? Huh? Some people are laughing, right? That's probably the right response. But what if things started going bad in Wichita? What if there was fires in Wichita? And what if they told you these things over and over and over again? Okay, still laughing, right. Would you be scared of it? I don't think so. Or would you hold to the things that are mentioned in this chapter? Would you realize that there is nothing special about this idol or this troll? Would you realize that it requires the real God to even exist? Would you see that its makers are nothing? And most of all, would you know that there is no idol that even comes close to God? If you wouldn't fear a giant troll in Derby, what about the 1,000-foot troll or the 1,000-foot idol they're building in Washington, D.C.? Huh? What about the 1,000-foot idol in New York City, New York? Huh? What about the idol in Princeton? What about the idols in Silicon Valley? We are surrounded by huge idols. I don't know if you realize that, but we are surrounded by them in our world. Will we listen to them? Will we fear them? Will we think, oh, this is terrible, I don't believe it? Or will we trust in God? Huh? Will we see that God is God? Don't be afraid of that big, mean idol. Look to God. Do not let anyone or anything distract you from who God is.